Hey cool cats, Roz and Neko here. Welcome back to the Kitty Corner, where we talk about previously played games, and today's topic is Birushana, Rising Flower of the Genpei. I want to start off this Kitty Corner with comparing Hakuoki and Birushana. And I really want to make that comparison with Hakuoki and Birushana because there were actually some comparisons, but the main comparison here really is just the focus of the powers, because Hakuoki had the main power being the demons. The demon power being like, hey, they have inner power-ups. And in Birushana, the heroine did have natural power-ups, and let's just focus on that. Heightened powers, just heightened abilities. Demons were just like just a separate species altogether. Birushana had heightened powers due to like spirits, their own natural beings. Hakuoki had this other separation based on spirit thing being passed on and whatnot, but that's just like getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. But in Birushana, it was different. They didn't make it like the main focal point, and depending on whose character route you were on, in Birushana, they didn't make it the main focus. They had more going on. What was the heroine going through? What was the focal point of the relationship with the other character that was happening? How was the war going? What else was happening? There was a lot more in the story that was going on. That's what I really enjoyed about Birushana. There was just a lot of that going on, and it just made it much more enjoyable. It was like a whole meal. And in Hakuoki, they had some of that, but they made more of the focal point being mainly of the male cast characters, to be honest. What was their backstory? What did we know about them? Some of the heroine and unsolving like the mysteries and things like that. I will say Hakuoki, I haven't played it in a while. I do remember playing the game over and over again because of the multiple systems they've been on, but that's what I remember most about Hakuoki was the backstories of the male characters and the progress of what was happening. And things like, what did it mean to be a samurai in Hakuoki? But that was more of a talk. What did it mean to be a samurai, and the mental capacity and just the mentality of it. But in Birushana, they acted on it. They acted on what it meant to be a samurai. And by that, let's focus on Noritsune. During that round, Noritsune was so hyper-focused on what it meant to be a samurai, and because he was so high-class, he didn't even know what it meant to be just a commoner. But he focused hard on what it meant to be a samurai, being powerful, and he worked hard to go down that route and lived on it. He fine-tuned his swordsmanship, stopped being a rich man, and worked his way down, in a sense, to understand and fight his way through, to really get everything, until he really made it to the end. And when Chanel was with her group of essentially her harem and all of that, when some of the characters found out that she wasn't male, they still honored being a vassal and followed her through the end. They didn't contemplate what it meant to be a samurai or anything like that. They still acted on it. And that's what I really enjoyed. Noritsune kind of thought about it, but still worked his way through it and figured it out. And Chanel's group continued to just act on it. That's what I really enjoyed about this story, is that everyone just did it because they knew and understood it already. I understand that Hakuoki's view was kind of figuring out along the way just so you can understand really what it meant to be a samurai. And I enjoyed Birushana's view of just doing it, just to really do it, and you could really feel it, honestly. That was my biggest takeaway from this game. I enjoyed it overall. It's not really a comparison to Hakuoki. It's its own standalone game. It's really completely separate. I can't say that it's better compared to Hakuoki because it is just that much more different. It's just the only comment I wanted to make because it just has that one similarity of just the powers and just their own difference of being what does it mean to be a samurai. They act on it compared to just contemplating it. Now, I will mention one more thing about this game, which is their bad endings. honestly, they weren't really that bad, except Yoritomo's. Yoritomo's was honestly really horrible. So for Shungen's bad ending, I felt really bad for him. When Shinao died, he was like, I'm gonna get them all back on it. Okay, fine. He was just gonna off everybody. That's fine. Benkei's destroyed me because at least he had Shinao live. That was fine. And then Noritsune, okay, they both, I saw that coming a mile away. They both ended up in each other's arms. Okay, that's fine. Tomomori's, again, he was just going to end with everyone. Okay, that's fine. Yoritomo's is Shinao not being able to move or do or say anything, but he keeps her alive anyway. That sounds traumatizing. It might be okay for someone else. That sounds like a terrible life to live. That doesn't even sound like living. That is a horror story people talk about, just imagining being like on a hospital bed where you're staying there and you can't move or say or do anything, and people around you are trying to figure out if they, I can't even just, but if anyone knows what I'm talking about, yeah, it just sounds like that kind of situation, and it just freaked me out. Not too bad, but still. But just going over everyone's routes in general that I want to talk about more detail in the review, but I didn't want to spoil it for anyone. Shungen's route, very boring up until the end, where I couldn't figure out if he was just broken or if he was a secret yandere near the end. That surprised me. It threw me for a loop. But still not the most interesting because I don't like friend characters. Benkei, best story. Not the best story. Best character. Up until the end. I was really mad about the end. This is why I don't really care for himbos. I loved him through and through because he made me laugh so much throughout all of his route. I adored him. It was just the ending that kind of upset me, because when the Shinao was just like essentially confessing, and she was like, I want to live, I want you to be there when I have a family and stuff, and I can understand how he would take it the wrong way, like, it makes me sad that you're going to be with another man, but I get it. Bro, she's confessing to you. What in the flip? It frustrated me and it ruined everything for me, but I couldn't say no to him. Noritsune, I adore him. I love him. I love their story. The one thing I could not stand in the story, which frustrated me to no end, was why is it in this route did she ignore all her friends? I love her harem friends to no end. But in this route, she completely ignored them. I get it. It's for the plot. I get it. It's the story. It makes it make more sense because she's going back and forth between the Heike and the Genji and all of that. It makes more sense in the story. It makes more sense when the bad routes happen. But it destroyed me. And if it was me, I would want to tell my friends everything and what's going on. I know that they would understand. But it hurt a lot. It made me like the story less. Especially in the end when they abandoned everything, but it made me happy for them that they had to abandon everything, and I understood that part. But yeah, no. Yoritomo, I liked him as a long-haired character, and that was basically it. What threw me off really is his lack of emotion, and the biggest part was honestly the whole brother thing. The whole time she was calling him brother and thinking of him as a brother, so then what is that going to have me think? It's going to make me think of him as a brother. The whole time I knew he wasn't, technically, and I was really hoping that they wouldn't be siblings. But in the story, if you're going to refer to them as siblings and have it really make it seem like they're siblings, I'm going to not really see the characters as being romantic interests. I don't know in which way, shape, or form I wasn't going to be able to see them as siblings and more as romantic partners. Personally, I just couldn't see it. I'm just not built that way, I guess. But it's just, I didn't really see it that way. I couldn't get into it. It's just not me. But yeah. And as I mentioned before, Tomomori, best story. I could see most of the story a mile away with how it was turning out. But honestly, it just kept me the most in my seat. I was voice acting quite a portion of this game throughout on my Twitch channel. That character was not one that I liked from all the other routes that I was doing, so I didn't voice act this one. But when I was actually able to sit there and read the story, and about maybe a quarter or halfway through, I was actually getting into it and trying to see what exactly was going on. And it was actually pretty cute. I was actually pretty getting into it. The backstory, seeing how he was turning out as a character, and just to see what was going on. But I was actually pretty surprised in who the mom was, which I never thought would be his sister, and it just what happened with his brother, and just wow. All I can really say was just wow. And his dark story too, with how he took everything and just how he worded everything too, and it was a twist. It was a twist. Not the most twisty thing ever, but it still was good overall. It was still good. As for the side characters, all of them were way too short. But Suganobu did turn out the way I thought it would, and I wanted more. Sweet, having one-on-one time with him in the middle of the night was super nice. I wanted more. Todanobu was definitely unexpected, and it made me see him in a whole new light. Him giving flowers, trying to give back to the community. Like, I never thought I would see something like that for him. It made me want to see him in a romantic relationship with someone else, but I definitely wanted to see more of that for him, whether it was with the heroine or not, definitely for sure. Takatsuna, I can see people having interest in him. Maybe not for me, but again, it definitely made me more interested in the character and seeing him in a relationship with someone else. Shigehira was a complete 180 for me. I never thought I would see him being so bashful, so cheeky, so needy. If you were in a romantic relationship with him, I craved so much more, honestly. I thought he was going to be the character that would then be my number one, just out of completely nowhere. I saw him being like kind of passive-aggressive cheeky with Tomomori, but as a romantic interest, ooh, all right. Oh my goodness, I was so shocked. I wanted more. I never expected a sweet side, especially when you see him turn into a literal snake and being like so cheeky with like a sword and not caring about anything. How do you do this in a romantic game? How do you do that? How did they? What? I was thrown for such a loop. What? It made me want to baby him. I want to see more. And I was looking up CGs for this game, and all of these characters had different new CGs. If they don't bring this other game where all these CGs are, I'm gonna be mad. I will be mad. I am mad. But anyway, this is the Kitty Corner for Birushana, Rising Flower of the Genpei. I'm Raza Neko. I'll see you next time. Leave your comments down below. It'll make me purr. Purr. I'll see you cool cats next time. Bye bye.